Good evening and welcome to episode 53. As always, we will start with our gratitude attitude. So, if you would, please gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, relax your body. Take another deep breath. As you breathe out, relax all your muscles. Take one more deep breath. This time, completely let yourself go. Now, think of one thing you are thankful for that happened in the past 1 week. Once you have identified that, think about why you are thankful. And now let's set it free. If you are by yourself, say it out loud what you are thankful for and why. If you are with someone, tell it to each other. Okay, so last week we discussed victim mindset and how we should avoid blaming others for things that may be happening in our lives. So today I want to take this one step further and examine why things happen in our lives the way they do. We all have certain tendencies that keep us in this loop of a specific pattern. If you really think hard, you'll realize that. Go back 10 years and just, slowly think about things that happened in your life. You'll find a pattern. Two people trying the same thing and coming out of with a different result. I call this luck of the draw. Let's dig deeper. Although our tendencies are what keeps us in a pattern, have you ever thought about what creates those tendencies within us? We are all predisposed to certain thought patterns, actions, and behavior. That all comes down to our karma. Our karma influences our thoughts and creates tendencies that put us in these patterns, whether positive or negative, right? Let me give you an example. There was this famous Indian Buddhist monk named Atisha. He was one of those most recognized scholars in his time. So the king of Tibet at the time decided to invite him to teach his people. Atisha happily accepted and went to Tibet. He brought a cook with him. Now, this guy's cook, he was known for his bad temper. The cook was impolite and otherwise rude to Atisha. He would cook the food and then would ask Atisha, eat if you want, I don't care. He wouldn't even care if food was tasting good or not. And this guy was a cook, right? So the Tibetan people were watching this drama for a few weeks. Finally, one of those king's chief deputies, he couldn't resist. So he went to Atisha and said, listen, we have really good cooks here in Tibet. We are happy to lend you a couple of cooks. Why are you putting up with this nonsense from your cook? So Atisha had a brilliant answer. He told them that, listen, he, meaning Atisha, created certain karma that put him in this position. And it also reminds him that he needed to learn patience. His cook was both allowing him to work out his karma and teaching him how to be tolerant. So you see, all of us are put in certain situation based on our karma. We must accept that and make the best out of our situation. Warren Buffett calls this the ovarian lottery. Your fate in this world is decided by where you are born, right? Which ovary you are born in. If you happen to be born in a first world country, your life will turn out a certain way versus if you're born in a poor country. That's karma. So how do we get out of these karmic tendencies? The answer is really simple. By being mindful of every decision and every thought, we are breaking that cycle of tendency. What does that mean? How do we become mindful? The first thing to do is to recognize what type of tendency we have developed over the years. For example, some of us may tend to get into a negative thought process about someone or something. Others may tend to make non-beneficial decisions such as gambling. And just a couple of examples, right? There are many of examples like this. But once we recognize the type of negative tendency that always ends up hurting us in the end, we can then begin to address this. When I was writing this, I actually thought about it since my college days until maybe about 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I had certain cycles of negativity and pattern, if you will, which would show up every 6 months to 12 months. For 6 months, it's fine. And then I'll, drop off the rail. And then, I'm back again. And I'll be off the rail maybe a week or two. But whatever that happened, it was a typical cycle. I noticed that up until about 15 years ago when I stopped, realized that, hey, I can't be getting into that pattern. So the point is that, we all have that tendencies. We have to look hard to find one. Also, one thing to be careful about here is not to take on all of our negative tendencies at once. That can get overwhelming. So let's just focus on one tendency that we can begin to break. Once we have identified this tendency, mindfulness will help us break the trend. We need to be mindful about when the thought or action related to that tendency begins to creep in. If we are mindful watching when it does, we'll begin to remind ourselves why we want to break that tendency. Again, in my case, I noticed that, in a 6 month time frame, the thought pattern will emerge, will last for a couple of weeks, and then I would do some stupid things, and then that would be it, right? So as soon as the thought pattern emerged, I started watching it, meaning say, okay, it's coming up. Let's make sure it doesn't turn into action, right? So initially, it may be difficult to break that habit, and you may snap right back into it. That is perfectly okay. Usually, every 3 to 5 times you're successful at breaking that tendency, you'll fall back in the trap maybe once. So that's okay. We start all over again. But after a few cycles, the gap between relapse will increase. Now you are not snapping back into your tendency for longer. And before you know it, you have overcome this tendency. So you see, we all have these karmic habits. I call it luck of the draw. Our challenge is to not accept those as they are or to blame others for it, but to learn to snap out of these karmic cycles. So I strongly encourage you to dig deep over the next couple of days or maybe a week and identify one negative tendency you would like to break. It's not easy to identify, but with enough introspection, you'll be able to do it. So that's the food for thought today. In today's meditation, let's try to imagine our mind is this deep ocean. Our thoughts are waves on the surface. As we go deep in the ocean, there is stillness away from that waviness. And we're going to try and focus on that stillness of our mind. So that's our goal today. If you are ready, let's begin. Get into a meditation posture, cross-legged position if you can. If you are on a chair, just make sure your legs are straight. Keep your back straight and upright, shoulders leveled. Gently close your eyes. Keep your mouth just a little bit open. That way, any tension you may be carrying in your jaws will disappear. Put your palms in your lap, right over left, thumbs gently touching each other. Now, take a deep breath. As you exhale, relax your body. Take another deep breath. As you exhale, completely let yourself go. Bring your attention to the sensation of your breath. Feel the cool air as you breathe in. Feel slightly warmer air as you breathe out. Continue to focus on the sensation of your breath for about a minute or so on your own. Bring your attention at your heart. Imagine everything that happened before this moment melts away in light and disappears. Things that are not yet here are not real anyway. So it is just this moment. Enjoy the peace this moment brings. Let this peaceful moment ring in the next peaceful moment. Now, imagine our mind is this deep ocean. Our thoughts are just like the waves on the surface of the ocean. Just as the waves on the ocean dissipate momentarily, our thoughts go away in a fleeting moment. As you go deep in the ocean, there is stillness. Just as there is stillness in your mind. Enjoy the peace that stillness brings. If a thought arises, gently acknowledge it. Don't chase it, and it will dissipate, just like the waves on the surface. If your thoughts have hijacked you, please come back. Go back to sensation of your breath for about 5 to 10 breaths. And then bring your focus back to stillness of your mind. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. Any questions? No questions today. All right, we're going to stop recording.